Welcome to KetoMealsAndRecipes.com. If you're familiar with my channel, you will know that one of my goals is to show everyone that being on a keto diet is not restrictive. In fact, you can and should enjoy a great variety of food. One of the ways that I really like to expand on our choice of meals is by making some of our favorite international recipes. When I'm adapting an old favorite recipe, I try to use ingredients and methods that will be as true to the original recipe as possible. Before going on with the recipe, I'd like to mention that this week a new feature has been added to my blog. On the actual recipe page, located in the right-hand margin, I have added a Google Translate feature, which will allow for the entire written recipe page to be translated, and then you can read it in the language of your choice. This is available for all of the recipes. I hope that this new feature will be helpful to our many international viewers. So please spread the word that KetoMealsAndRecipes.com now has a Google Translate feature. So with the announcement out of the way, let's make my Keto Beef Bulgogi, also known as Keto Korean Beef BBQ. The macronutrient ratio for this recipe is 1.8 to 1, with 3.5 grams of total carbs, 0.8 gram of dietary fiber, resulting in only 2.7 grams of net carbs per serving. You'll find that the preparation of both the marinade sauce and the Keto Beef Bulgogi is very quick and easy. Also, I should mention that the full video on how to make Keto Bulgogi sauce, also known as the Keto Korean Barbecue sauce, will be posted in a couple days. I wanted to give a little bit more explanation than just throwing the ingredients in the blender. I'd also like to give a few suggestions about the meat. I usually buy a whole roast and have my butcher cut it into very thin sections. Or if you have a Korean or Chinese grocery store nearby, go to their meat section and you can find prepackaged bulgogi meat, which is presented in very nice, neat tubes of meat, which you'll find in the frozen meat section. If neither of these options are available to you, get a good chuck roast or sirloin tip roast, bring it home, chill it till it's very firm, and then using a very sharp knife, cut very thin sections, as thin as you can make them. I prefer to marinate my meat in a deep glass bowl, and then I separate the sheets of meat as I add them into the bowl. Then I pour the Keto Bulgogi sauce on top. Then I prefer to use my hands and carefully toss the meat in the sauce, but try your best not to tear the thin meat slices. When you've tossed everything well, cover the bowl with cling wrap and refrigerate to allow the marinade to tenderize and flavor the beef. As I've mentioned, allow the meat to marinate for a minimum of 1 hour. As with marinating any meat, the longer you marinate it, the better it will taste. So overnight is ideal. When I'm ready to start cooking, take the bowl out of the fridge at least 30 minutes before you want to make the Keto Beef Bulgogi. And the reason for this is you want the meat to get to room temperature for best results. While the marinated meat is getting to room temperature, I peel my carrot and cut the carrot on a diagonal into thin 1 centimeter or 1/4 inch diagonal sections. Then cut each of these sections into thin 1/2 centimeter or 1/4 inch matchsticks and set them aside. The last thing to prep is the mushrooms, so cut the mushrooms into relatively thin sections as well and set them aside. Now it's time to cook the meat. You can either heat a wok, skillet, or make the bulgogi on an outdoor barbecue. If you're using a wok or skillet, heat the pan over medium heat. Then add about 2 tablespoons of your roasted sesame seed oil and coat the bottom and the side of the pan very well. I'd just like to mention that the traditional and authentic method to make bulgogi, or Korean beef barbecue, is on top of a charcoal grill. If you're intending to barbecue, you should use one of the following. You'll need a fine steel mesh, barbecue grill pan, or use aluminum foil so that your thin sheets of meat do not fall through the barbecue grate. Now back to the skillet or wok method. When you're placing each sheet of marinated meat into the pan, spread it out and place it flat on the pan, and don't crowd the meat. Your best results will be obtained if you cook the meat in small batches. Cooking time is very brief, but cook until the underside is lightly crusted and golden brown. Then flip and cook the other side until it too has a golden brown crust. It'll take about a couple minutes per side, but that will depend how thick your meat slices are. Use your tongs to remove and place the meat on a serving platter. It's a good idea to cover the meat on the platter with a sheet of aluminum foil. This will keep the meat nice and warm and prevent it from drying out as you finish the rest of the batches. Between each time you fry a new batch of meat, add 1 tablespoon of oil and keep repeating until all the sheets of marinated meat are done. The last step is to also cook the vegetables. Add your carrots. Pour the remaining Keto Bulgogi sauce left from the marinade. If there's not enough oil, add another tablespoon of oil. Stir fry until the carrots are a bit brown but still at a crispy stage. That should be about 2 to 3 minutes. Then scoop out and place into a separate bowl. Add and cook the mushrooms until they're slightly crispy on the outside. It took my mushrooms about 3 minutes to get that nice golden crust. When the mushrooms are done, scoop them out and place them in a separate bowl. Also cut and prepare your chives or green onions. To assemble your bulgogi platter, layer about half of the bulgogi beef onto a serving platter. Then sprinkle some of the carrots over the surface. Repeat with some of the mushrooms, the green onions or chives. Lay the rest of the bulgogi beef on top and again sprinkle the carrot matchsticks, mushrooms. Finish with the light sprinkling of green onions or chives. I wish you could smell the wonderful aroma coming from this meat. If you've ever had Korean beef barbecue in a Korean restaurant, I'm sure that you'll find that my keto recipe is very true to the authentic taste. If you're wondering how to serve this, an optional way to enjoy bulgogi is to eat the meat wrapped in a leaf of soft lettuce, such as Boston lettuce or iceberg lettuce. Bulgogi sauce can be used in several other recipes as well, so my next video will focus on how to make the sauce, which will take literally 5 minutes. I'd like to thank you for watching this video, and if you haven't already, please turn on your notification bell. See you next time. The link for the printable Keto Beef Bulgogi Keto Korean Beef BBQ recipe with the Google Translate option is available in the description below.